Welcome to Ports and Palaces.
Today is July 15th, and today we will be talking all about the new Universal Kids Park.
Good morning, everyone. Like Chad said, today we were talking about the new Universal Kids Resort in Frisco, Texas. We were able to actually go during a preview event. It was myself, my brother Nathan,
Hello, everybody.
and our daughter. So we do have some special visitors here today at Ports and Palaces podcast that are going to help us talk about if this park is worth it. So before we get into the actual like nitty gritty of the park, I want to just kind of establish some baseline information. So like I said, we were there for a preview event, so it was not full capacity. So when we're talking about wait times or the amount of people that were in the park, we were a preview event, and I believe they were capped at probably 30%. So definitely not what full park capacity is. In addition to that, there were still some things that were not open yet or were not properly working. And there were some team members that or were still in the process of training. So they didn't have all the answers I asked or things like that. So they were still training. So just some general guidelines before we get started. So we ready?
Yeah!
All right, let's start with just driving up. So parking, if you are from Texas and you have a toll tag, you can use your toll tag to actually pay. But parking was pretty good. We got premium parking, which was pretty close to the front.
Yeah, I would say it was mostly pretty easy to get in. I do remember that toll tag light booth that she is talking about. It was a little interesting to see because, well, I mean, whenever it comes to other parks, usually you get on a bus and it takes you there, and then you have to go through security check-in. I don't think there was this. Oh, actually, no, there was a security check-in when we were entering
Mhm.
Universal Kids Park, and so whenever we were getting to the check-in, there was a big Universal Kids sign, which I actually thought it was a check-in because I thought I was seeing a line form for it. Turned out it wasn't, so that was a little mishap I made. So I'm going, and once we got to the check-in, there was the big old park area, and I think it came pretty close to like a Disney World feeling.
Yeah, they were definitely very excited to see people. The security went pretty easy. They do take your pictures for they said for security purposes, but the only other time that we've gotten our picture taken was for like park reentry or for express pass, which we're going to kind of talk about later in on the show when we're kind of talking about our thoughts moving forward, but they didn't use that picture from my knowledge the whole rest of the time we were there, so that was a little weird. But everyone was really excited to see you. And then obviously this is Universal Kids Resort, so it is geared towards kids. Ages 3 to 8 is their target range. And so like I said, we brought our daughter, and so they were very much so talking to her, engaging with her, things like that. The first entry when you walk in is supposed to be themed to Gabby's dollhouse. Did you get that impression when we walked in, Nathan, that that was supposed to be like Gabby's land?
I did not, since I don't actually watch the show. I don't really know anything about Gabby's you said it was Playhouse?
Gabby's dollhouse.
Gabby's doll. That was my second guess. So I don't know anything about the show, but I mean the way they brought the characters in was fine because they had a dancing crew. There was like a many backup dancers, and they did a I would say they did a very good job of trying to make the environment seem positive and stuff. I don't know where the music was coming from. Maybe one of them had like a boombox under their shirt. I don't know. But the costume design was cool. Like I liked seeing the whole thing happen, even though I know nothing about like the TV show. It made me think that okay, this is a park that's gonna have some entertainment, it's gonna have some nice value, and it made me look forward to seeing what was gonna happen next.
Yeah. The park is designed like a circle. So actually the hotel is part of it. So when you walk in, you're actually kind of like surrounded by the hotel. And I don't know if it was just pure happenstance or if they were doing it more often because of previews, but we actually caught the Gabby's dance both when we were entering and exiting. So basically she just kind of walks in a circle and then she lands at her like character meetup spot, and they before they get there they stop at like a little they stop and do like I wouldn't even call it a dance. It was like two dance moves and then
It
She waves
was
secret.
it kind of looked like a dance that any like general kid would attempt at doing. I guess that's the way to describe it. Yeah, like seeing her dance like that, it made me think like, is she not like all hot under that costume?
Yeah.
It was a lot of movement.
Trying to say that that's Gabby's land. There were some little statues of cats. Yeah, and those were cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was about it. They had like a Cakey's cupcake stand. You could get some really sugary cupcakes, but that was it for like the entry. So one thing that I really liked about the entry is you walked in and you literally almost saw the entire park. So to your left, you saw Trolls. Straight ahead, you saw the Bellow Bay Cruise, big water
Minions ride.
Minions ride, yes. And then off to the right, you saw SpongeBob. And then in the back, you could see Shrek and Puss in Boots and Jurassic World. So, I mean, when people say this is a small park, it's
I mean, it was small from my experience, but I think that's because they're like opening it up the park, so it's probably new. It's gonna, at least I'm hoping it's going to get a lot more additions to it later on because, well, I did like the stuff that I experienced, which I'll be talking about eventually, and I am excited to see what new attractions and possible character meetups are going to add on to it, maybe in the next like few months.
yeah,
Well, the parks were fun, but I can't do the playgrounds yet.
that's right. The playgrounds were a little bit more geared to older kids that could climb on ropes and swing. So yeah, so definitely keep in mind that the big playgrounds that we're going to talk about did have some components of them that were a little challenging for a little while. Let's talk about the first place we went, right? Which was
Trolls Fest.
Trolls Fest. So we walked right in, and it was Trolls Fest, which is themed to trolls. And you walked right in, and the first ride we went up on was
It was a roller coaster.
okay. It was Rhonda's Trolls Fest Express. Now, I just did a little side tip. The reason, and one of the reasons that Nathan came with us is because I am of a larger stature. And I had heard rumors that people of a larger size may not be able to fit on these rides. Again, we're going to go into all of that a little bit more when we're talking about our thoughts at the end. But so Nathan came with to be a ride partner for our daughter. So I'm going to let them kind of talk about the rides because I did not ride anything this trip.
Okay. Did you have any thoughts on the first roller coaster that we went on?
The pink roller coaster.
Yeah, but it was very technically short, but it was still kind of fun.
It was very short. I remember I was trying to get pictures of y'all and you were on it and off and like
Uh, I'm not even sure if 1 minute went by.
no. Like 12 seconds, 15 seconds,
It it
1 minute.
1 minute.
it definitely felt fast. Like that was my complaint with that ride. Like I wish it had gone on longer, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like I think it was probably around half to maybe over a minute, but I don't know. Maybe I was caught up in like something else on the ride, like trying to process the fact that I was going fast and the wind was in my face. Maybe I
Yeah.
was like caught up in that. I don't know.
It was also the first ride, so kind of we were excited and then it's just kind of over. It can be a little bit of a
Well, not to be shots fired at Disney, but I know Tron Like Cycle Run, they timed it and it's 49 seconds.
oh yeah, this was probably half of that. But again, it's a kid. But once you get off of that, there are two playgrounds just I'd say, I mean, gosh, right there, right across the little road and then a little bit down.
I would say it's pretty close by.
Yeah.
Like there was one where I'm not sure how to describe it, but I guess it was kind of like lily pads or flowers, and that you could step on them, and there was a whole bunch of netting that was holding each one of them up. And then
hmm
the next one that was next to it, it had like a I'm not sure what they were made of. It may have been like some kind of wood.
I think it was wood or like faux wood.
I
It
guess
looks like
so.
wood though.
And there were like these trolls houses, and they looked like a vegetable. I'm not sure what to like name the sort of vegetable I
Mushroom?
think of.
A
No,
mushroom or an onion?
onion, I think
Pineapple.
is
A
a
pineapple. That could work.
A
It
pineapple.
kind of looks
Okay.
like a pineapple.
Well, I mean, we're gonna get to that later, but there was also like this caterpillar area, and I
hmm
hung outside at that one. She was enjoying pressing these fake buttons that were in there, and I was simply standing there like trying to enjoy her visit at the inside this fake caterpillar.
Yeah. So the one Nathan's talking about right now is called Trolls Critter Crawl. And I would say that one was geared maybe towards towards younger kids. There wasn't much to climb on. They were just climbing through. And then the other one was called Walking Through, yeah. And then the other one was called Poppy's Playland. And that you actually did have to climb on those like little lily pads Nathan's talking about. And so I'd say that one's geared to a little bit more older kids. Now, what you're going to find is that each land there is either a playground or a splash pad. And then they all have some sort of food. So this land only has a playground. And then they had like a little trolls market. And this market had their souvenirs and it had the Trollify Me experience, which was pretty inexpensive. It was $25 to get like face makeup and hairspray, like colored hairspray to kind of trollify yourself. We did not, yeah, we did not do that this time, just because we were planning to come back later. And so we figured that would be a good thing to do later. But inside this shop was also a little bakery, and we got this little Rice Krispie treat, but it was made out of Captain Crunch berries with some icing on it. Did you like that treat?
I did not like that treat. It was too sour for me. No thank you.
Too sour or too sweet?
Too sweet and too sour.
Too sweet.
No thank you.
It was very much so made out of a lot of icing. But I actually think it was probably my favorite treat.
Whereas I didn't eat the snack that they were talking about, but the thing about saying that it was too sweet, I personally like it whenever treats are very sweet. But I do agree about the sourness. I've never been a fan of things that are sour.
And there also was a little like pizza shop called Trolls Eats, and they had pizza, and I feel like they also had some pasta, but I might be wrong in that. I know it was mostly just pizza though. We did not get any pizza because it was like what 10 in the morning, so no pizza for us. But there we also got our refillable cups. Now this is where I'm going to say our first tip of this podcast is get a refillable cup. So they say to get one per person, but we got one to share, and you can refill it every 10 minutes. So we filled it with water. This park is in Texas, and it is summer in Texas, so it's very hot. And so we were able to fill this with vitamin water and Powerade, things like that, to kind of keep us going and hydrated during this park day. So definitely a necessity there because it was only like 20 something dollars. So definitely that's kind of the main food area there. There were two theaters in this area. One is just called the Universal Kids Theater. It was not open when we went. Now looking back, you can see it's basically just like showing cartoons if you need a little break. I think that's a little strange to put a break area right at the beginning of the park. That's usually when you're ready to go excited, but that is there. And then they also had this.
Maybe it could be for the security check-in.
Maybe. And then they had the King Trollex Techno Dance Party. It was a little interesting. There was just this person around that was telling you to dance in certain ways. They had some music playing, so
It was, I guess, even though I've never been to one, I got kind of like nightclub vibes from it. It was dark, there was a lot of disco lights, and there was a lot of dancing. Of course, so that would be like a very family-friendly nightclub.
speaking of like a show, there was one other show in this area, the Trolls Amphitheater, where Mr. Dinkles was lost and they had to find him. What did y'all think of that show?
I think if I remember correctly, it was with me when that was happening, and we were trying to figure out where you were at.
Yeah.
Because I do remember you had to call me and explain to me where you liked the show.
She really liked it. So the show was cute. It was a little place just to rest. It's inside an amphitheater, so it is outside, but it was okay. And then there was one ride left in the park, and that was, oh gosh, Nathan, you said it was called Hair in the Clouds. Yeah, it was called Hair in the Clouds.
In Fly in the Clouds, me and Uncle Nate were definitely
Definitely in what?
in the red balloon, air balloon. But it was very fun, and it was fast, but very short.
Very short.
I guess I can agree with that. It was kind of short. Like we're trying to wait to get onto the ride, and I kind of had to learn the procedures there of how apparently instead of like so whereas you have a roller coaster and they bring in the whole group of seats and everybody's turns to get on. Supposedly the way they did it in this park was that they would wait until somebody had been riding the ride for like 5 minutes, I'm guessing, and they would change out people riding on each of the carriers, despite the ride still being in progress.
Oh, really?
That's what I remember. So, like, if there was, for example, three carriers moving, maybe like every 2.5 or 5 minutes, they would make the ride stop so that way people could change out on them, but they would still have the other riders like up in the air. And so, yeah, it was like, oh, okay, they're stopping their rides so somebody else can have a
This one?
turn. I think it was, yeah.
This is where I learned, and Nathan, I know when we were talking about it in the moment, you were like, oh, it doesn't feel like that way to us. But this is where I was starting to learn that, like, even though it said 5 to 10 minutes, y'all were in the queue for a long time. So I don't know if there was just a lot of security checks because it was previews, but you guys, it would say 5 minutes and y'all wouldn't be back with me for like 30 minutes. So just the getting on the ride itself, and like the security checks to get off the ride seemed to be taking a really long time.
It did. I mean, it felt a little bit long whenever we had to get on that one Trolls one, but all the rest of them, I would say they took longer. Well, there was one Jurassic Park ride, and it was a roller coaster. That one
No.
felt it took about like 2 to 3 minutes, and then there was another one, and whenever that was happening, it did take about like probably 10 minutes or more. I remember we were in that one for a while, and well, yeah, me and Pat had to wait, and I was needing to lean on the railing.
And then there was one more kind of eatery place in this land, and that was Brozone Cones. And these were little ice cream cones. They're very cute. We did not have them at Universal Kids, but we have had them at Universal Orlando, and they are a good little treat, especially on a hot day. So definitely don't skip those. Next up was Shrek Swamp, and this land kind of just bled right into Del Mar, so Puss in Boots area. I felt like they make it look on the maps like it's two separate places, but they really kind of bled right into each other as like one place in my mind.
I would say so, yeah. It felt like a straight shot pretty much right through the area.
Mhm.
Which I mean, I think a lot of the places there actually felt like a straight shot through. It was like, oh, there's things on your left you can try, there's things on your right you can try. It didn't seem like as if you could go around things. Like it was either it's on the left or it's on the right,
Yeah.
and then you move ahead.
Yeah, I would agree. This whole park was very linear. Like you followed the path one way. There wasn't like windy paths to go this way or that way. Like you were stuck on that one path the whole way. Whereas most theme parks, you kind of can wind around, change your mind. This was very much like follow the circle in this one direction. That's all you're gonna do. But Shrek Swamp, when you walked in from Trolls area, there was a ride that was down. This is the ride you've probably seen on social media. That's like you're in a cart and it's the retelling of Shrek and Fiona's story. And then right across from there was another regular playground. And I will say the playgrounds were very well shaded, I would say. Whereas most of the park is missing a little bit of shade. I will say it needs some more shade. The playgrounds I thought had some pretty good shade. And then I think this might be one of the only lands that had a playground and a splash pad. So Shrek also had a splash pad. We skipped the splash pads this time because we were not wearing swimsuits and we did not want to get incredibly wet.
I really love park, but I couldn't get on the playgrounds, but I did like the ride a lot.
And then that was really the end of the Shrekland. There was a gift shop that kind of was when you came out of the ride. And then there was the Swamp Snacks, which was very similar to the Swamp Snacks that's in Orlando that has the Shrexel and which is a like pretzel shaped like Shrek with some green, call it butter? What is that, Chad? Green mustard? It's not mustard. Some sort of green cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
green
some
cheese.
kind of food that's
And then there's a turkey leg. And then this is where Nathan met his first character.
yeah. This was the Shrek and Fiona greet. I don't know if they have a meet and greet for other characters. I know there was one for Puss in Boots, but I think from what one attendant told me, he wasn't available that day. So, I mean, it's whatever. Whenever I got into the line for that, like, there wasn't shade for the line, so I was in the sun. But by the time it was about to be my turn, there was a group. I think it was a family that went ahead of me, and I don't know like what all the stuff that was said, but what I do know was Shrek decided to take his. I think it was a plastic glove, maybe cotton. He like touched his face with it, and then he was moving it on like this wooden piece that was on the back design. And the Fiona character said, "Okay, you can rub your booty some other time." So I'm thinking, you know what? That sounds like something Shrek would do, actually, if he was like on a casual day.
Yeah.
So they got done with that family group, and they were looking at me and thinking, okay, it's my turn to go up. And Shrek asked me for a high five. And well, even though I stated that it was like cotton or whatever, I was expecting it to be this like a hard plastic glove he was wearing, and it
Mhm.
wasn't. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. And Fiona was telling me, oh, did you know Shrek is very strong? He created all of this with this one hand. And so I commented, you have some very strong hands, sir. They're saying he created his swamp and all that.
Mm.
And then finally, when we got to the pictures.
Yeah. So that was fun. And again, he didn't wait very long. Again, I'm not sure if that's because it was a preview or just that may not be the main draw of this park is characters. Like we said, you immediately go from there into the Puss in Boots area. And Puss in Boots, I wouldn't even really call it a land. It's literally just kind of one section and everything's there. So there was some carnival games, and then right by the carnival games was the theater. And that was the like Mama Luna.
Oh, yes,
Um,
the theater bar Puss in Boots. I remember that. Yeah, they had mini cardboard cutouts of the cats, like the ones that that you saw from a Last Wish, which is the newest Puss in Boots movie. I don't know what year it released, but it was definitely based from that movie, and they had these really nicely made puppets of like Puss in Boots, and
mhm.
I think it was supposed to be a dog. It was the dog
Yeah,
character
what's
in
the
the movie.
dog's name?
Pudito.
And what were
Okay.
they doing?
They were in a show, and Puss in Boots was fighting a good guy, but he took place of him.
Mm.
Yeah, and so that was a fun fight to watch. Like you can see the puppeteers, and they were very skilled with the puppets.
Hmm.
They did a great job of making the characters feel like they were alive. I can give them that. And well, whenever Puss in Boots did his signature, like multiple side flips, where he has his limbs all sprawled out, they had this like a mechanism which had a cardboard cutout and it was spinning around.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the Fearless Hero song came about.
And then I think this is the first time. So mind you, we're now at the back of the park. So we've gone halfway through the park now. And we've gone about halfway through the park now. And this is the first time we found indoor seating. So something with AC inside. And that was like the main eating place there. They did have the freestyle machines that you could refill your waters. And then this was kind of like a Mexican food area. At that point we were incredibly hot and it was just nice to be inside. So I can see a lot of people taking tables in here just to get out of the shade. So I hope Universal has some sort of plan to stop that a little bit. Because I can see people just kind of sitting and getting out of the shade. But the Mexican food looked really good. Again, we didn't eat, we just refilled our drinks, kind of looked around and left. But definitely a little concerning that it took us like halfway through the park to finally find some AC in Texas in the summer. So, and then there was one other ride here that we skipped, and it was the swings over Del Mar. We all looked at it and said, no thanks. And just, I did notice though that they were making people take off their shoes if they were like Crocs or flip flops, things like that. So just be mindful that you might have to take your shoes off. And people were not stopping in the place that they started. So they were having to walk on the concrete in Texas to find their shoes after the ride was over. So might want to just wear water shoes. Anything else y'all want to say about Puss in Boots?
Well, it was very fun, but we did not ride any rides.
That's right. We didn't ride any rides in Puss in Boots or Shrek because there was only one ride each, right? Yeah. And then we got to the part of the park that I think we all said we enjoyed the most, and that was Jurassic World Adventure Camp. So right when you walked in, if you're coming from Puss in Boots, was the climbing structures. That was closed while we were there, but I still would keep in mind that it looked like it was a bit for bigger kids. There was like rope climbing, a lot of net climbing, things like that. So definitely something for older kids. Yeah, I thought you would.
Well, the park was very fun.
Yeah. The first ride you and Uncle Nate did was the Tirana Drop, the one where you went up and down.
Oh yeah. What did you think of that, Red?
Well, it was very fun, but I didn't think I could even get my bumper on before it started.
Oh,
Your
you were a
bumper?
little worried that you couldn't get your harness on.
Oh yeah, I had to help her out with that. It was pretty similar to the Superman ride, but instead of I think the Superman ride goes up like 50 feet up in the air. This one I think was about 15 or 20.
And then, yeah, this one looked really fun. I enjoyed being able to watch you guys. I was stationed underneath like a mister, which was really nice because at this point it was middle of the day and very, very hot. So it was nice to be kind of under like a cooling mister fan. And then right after you guys got off the ride, we went just like the Trolls area that had like a playground that was designed for older kids and then a playground designed for younger kids. Jurassic World had the same thing. They had a playground that was designed for the younger kids, for the older kids, which was that netting. And then they had a playground designed for the younger kids, which was really cute. It was actually like designed like a stegosaurus. And looked.
Oh yeah.
And then we came across probably what I think both of y'all said was your favorite was the Cretaceous coaster. So tell us about that.
Well, it was fun. Yeah, also at the end we got to see Bumpy, which is almost like a stegosaurus. It looks like a stegosaurus, but it isn't a stegosaurus.
I would describe Bumpy as looking like a baby Stegosaurus, but it had like a helmet built into its skin or its scales, I guess.
And that was a baby bumping head, I think.
And y'all said this was your favorite coaster. Why?
Well, because it was very fast, like me. And every time I go on something fast, I get the zoomies.
Whereas like on the Rhonda roller coaster, I'm not sure if I said the name correctly. It was fast, but like I wasn't a fan of the color. The Cretaceous coaster though, it had like a color that was more geared towards like the Jurassic World, and so that helped it to be a more fun ride in my experience. I think it lasted a little longer.
And then the last ride that y'all went on was the double helix spin. So to me, it looks like a very tame ride. But Nathan, you came off saying you were feeling sick. What was
Yeah.
that about?
So the rides were going up and down, pretty much like a loop-de-loop. Well, not a loop-de-loop, actually, bad example, but it allowed you to spin the ride around, and I was having fun with it at first. Like I was paying it for Piper, but I was paying it to the point where I was starting to get sick because like the combination of the spinning with the going up and down, like I mean, Piper didn't seem to have a problem, but I was getting dizzy on it, and so I tried to put the ride to a stop because I was starting to feel like more than nauseous.
So just a mindful note of that one. You can control the speed, but your kids may want to go a little faster than you like. And then this area was where we actually stopped to have lunch. It was I think the Jurassic World Outposts or Outfitters or something like that. And I thought the food here was really good. The kids' meals I felt like were really nice. And what did you have for a kids' meal?
Well, it was fun, but I don't like barbecue, and they gave me barbecue for my chicken nuggets.
Right, but what kind of chicken nuggets did you have?
Dino nuggets.
Dino nuggets. Now, you could have had dino nuggets on top of a volcano of mashed potatoes with a barbecue sauce lava, but we're a little bit picky, so we just got the dino nuggets and mashed potatoes. But it came with an applesauce and apples, and I felt like it was a good value. And then I got an adult, the grilled chicken like bowl. And I felt like it was a really good value for what I ate. I didn't feel like it was traditional theme park food. And all in all, for the two meals, we only paid like $26. So I feel like the food value is definitely there for this park.
The only thing I have to say about that is it very much makes sense for a restaurant taking place in the land about dinosaurs to have dino nuggets. That would be an absolute missed opportunity.
Yeah, that was definitely something we were like, that was good of them to do that. The second to last land we went up for the day was Bikini Bottom, and this is where we found the most missed opportunity ever.
Oh yes, the iconic Krusty Krab that we all know that is part of SpongeBob SquarePants was to not be found within that location for reasons we do not know.
Yeah, so I don't know why they don't have Krusty Krab. I even remember when Chad and I did a preview like of this land when they first announced it, and we were hoping that maybe we just missed a Krusty Krab announcement. But there is no Krusty Krab in this land, so
I do hope Universal Kids will at some point add a Krusty Krab in there because like you can't have a SpongeBob land without there being Krusty Krab. Like please add one soon.
Yeah. This land I feel was the most put together. It seems that they spent the most time on this land. It had the most rides. It felt the most themed. All the lands were very cute and themed, but they were themed in a minimalist kind of design to me. Like they were just kind of themed there. Whereas I felt like Bikini Bottom really felt themed. Like you walked around, you saw Mrs. Puff's boating school. The splash pad that they had SpongeBob's house in there. So I feel like it was the most fleshed out. They did have carnival games here, just like in Del Mar. So extra cost there that you could get. And then the first ride you come up to if you're coming out of Jurassic World is Mrs. Puff's boating school. And pause, let Nathan watch the video and Piper to remember about it.
Yeah, I remember it.
Remember it?
Well, the seats were wet. Miss Puff had a megaphone, and she wasn't saying anything.
Yeah, that was something I was confused about because Mrs. Puff, I don't think she ever has a megaphone like in the cartoon. So I was thinking like if she's gonna have a megaphone, at least have her say some jokes. That's like maybe say, "Hey, don't let SpongeBob drive your boat" or something close to that. And it was like a
Why,
very
SpongeBob? Why?
she could say that too. We were driving around Mrs. Puff's boat essentially, and that's all there really was to it. We weren't actually driving.
Yeah, it's just like a little spinner ride. It did look like on my end it went kind of up and down.
It
Just a teeny
did do
bit.
that a little bit. I don't know if it did a lot though.
And then right across from Mrs. Puff's boating school was the snack bar, and this had probably one of the coolest snacks that I had seen so far that day. And it was the SpongeBob's cheesy pressed grilled cheese. So it was a grilled cheese, but the bread they had pressed into look like SpongeBob, which I thought was pretty cool. You could get that as a grilled cheese or with pepperonis inside. And then they had seasoned popcorn that was Cool Ranch. So definitely some cool little snacks there.
Something that was also that I also loved about the land was they had this one game called Love World, and it was pretty much that game where you had to shoot water to your target to make like a character go faster. But usually those are like horsemen. These ones were snakes.
Mm. And then another ride in this area was the bobbing barrels. This ride had water everywhere around it, so I knew to avoid it. But why don't you guys tell us about bobbing?
You remember bobbing barrels?
Yes, I do. People have to splash you, and then you have to splash them back to get your aim.
That is a very accurate way to put it. You had to shoot everybody with water guns, and the barrels are like turning around, like they're spinning, and they're also turning in the area at the same time. So to like give your chance to shoot everybody that is there. I enjoyed it. Like it was a nice way to cool off, like how people say Splash Mountain for Disney, the way to cool off on a summer day. That was essentially my Splash Mountain at University.
So yeah, so definitely a very wet ride. Just know when you go into it, it's very wet. Right next to it was another ride called Barnacle Bus.
Yes, that one, it was like a pirate ship essentially, but whereas the pirate ship, I mean, they probably do it nowadays, like the pirate ship will go forward and back. This one went forward and back, and it also turned around. And not only that, but it decides to go the opposite direction to, I don't know why, I guess give the other direction its turn.
And then that ride looked tame enough. And then the last ride, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like SpongeBob jellyfishing. That ride is called the Jellyfish Field Jamboree. Another spinning ride. It looks a lot like Dumbo. You sit in the little car.
That's what I was thinking.
And you just kind of spin around, catching jellyfish. Was there anything inside the ride that looked or felt different than just watching it from the outside?
I mean, I guess it didn't make you feel like you were catching any jellyfish. It probably would have been a better ride to say jellyfishing with SpongeBob or something. That's just me though. Like the jellyfish net was there, but it didn't make you feel like you were catching a jellyfish with SpongeBob. It essentially felt like you were flying like Dumbo or like the magic carpet of Aladdin.
Okay, yeah. So just kind of like Dumbo or Aladdin. And then I think a big highlight for us in this area were the characters. So we were able to meet Squidward and Patrick.
Yes. The funny thing with Squidward was that I actually saw him come out of like a gate on the Barnacle bus, like before we were about to go on it. And Squidward saw us look at him and he waved.
Ah,
And I'm thinking that's not like Squidward to do.
yeah, I actually got to meet Squidward while we were on the Barnacle bus, so that was fun. And then he was out long enough that y'all got to meet him when you got done, so that was very cool.
I am happy for that, yes.
Yes.
And then Patrick, I missed out on because we did have a little bit of a mishap in our next spot, and that was at Goofy Goobers. We went in there for the triple gooberry sunrise sundae, which is in the special little goober.
It's the
Goofy Goober
SpongeBob
Cup.
SquarePants movie. It was
Yeah.
the first movie.
Now, this was not just an ice cream spot. It did also have like burgers and things like that that you could order, but we just went for ice cream. Looking back on it now, if you're just wanting to get ice cream, there is a separate ice cream like counter, and you should probably just order it your stuff from there. Because we ended up having quite a bit of an issue. We went in, we sat down at the table just like we had done, but it was probably 15, 20 minutes, and people were getting their food and leaving, and we were still waiting on this sundae.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know like the full context of what happened there, but supposedly they thought that they already delivered our food to us because they couldn't find our table number. Because I know I had to go up and ask them about it, and I think that was the excuse. But we still waited like probably 10 minutes or so even after that. And so I went and asked about it again, and the ladies recognized me. And so she brought me over to this area where we're supposed to get the ice cream, and she had to like apologize about it. She had to explain to the people working there. He's been waiting patiently for 20 minutes.
So like, I feel like if you're just there for ice cream, just go to the counter. We also found afterwards that there was like a pickup window, so you could have just gone to the window and ordered instead. And there was like a nice little patio you could have sat at. So that is an option. But the sundae itself, what did y'all think about it? Did you like the sundae?
Yeah, it's good.
What did you like about it?
That there were M&Ms, yes, but and I didn't want to eat it anymore. My tummy was very full.
Yeah, there were like M&Ms and Oreos like mixed into it, but it felt like they had maybe pre-made a lot all at once, and it had been sitting in a freezer because they were just chunks.
I personally enjoy like chunky ice cream, but yeah, it's not like what I would expect if I was to have a Goofy Goober ice cream myself. It looks pretty much like what you see in the cartoon, but it's a big old like I think styrofoam or something. It's a big old plastic cup, and that's what it's inside of.
Yeah, you look at the sundae cup and you think it's huge, but there's a cup inside of the cup. So it's not as big as you actually think it is. I feel like for $20, it's probably not worth it. I would just get one of the smaller little sundaes. I feel like the most enjoyable part of that sundae was the strawberry Dole Whip. That was more like a sorbet and less like dairy ice cream, but it was okay. And then that took us right into our last land, which was
Minions!
Yes, Minions. So Minions only had 2 rides. It's kind of like the center of the park. The first ride was the Bello Bay Golf Cart Derby.
Oh yeah, so looking at it from like a third person perspective, it looks like bumper cars, and the scary thing is they actually do get close enough to make it seem like as if you're in bumper cars. They get dangerously close, but it's simply a ride that you spin around it.
Yeah, it looked like y'all were going on like a figure 8 track. So
yeah,
that's kind of
that's definitely a way to spin.
And it was I know we're talking about Universal Kids, but Minions is kind of like Mater Tomater's Junkyard.
That's right. Good job. Yes, it is a very similar track system to Mater's Junkyard Jamboree over in Disney's California Adventure. So definitely the same kind of system, but this ride only had 5, 6 cars on it. It was very small.
I don't know what the actual number is, but
15.
unfortunately, I can't say it like I can't agree with it being like the Radiator Springs one because I have not gone on that ride yet.
Gotcha. Oh, before I get to that, I forgot to mention SpongeBob does have a splash pad, but it does not have a playground. So that's the reason I want to mention it. Because I was going to say the Minions area has one big ride that's very water driven, and then it has a splash pad. So it does not have a separate playground. It has a splash pad, and it actually has two splash pads. It has a larger splash pad, and then it has like a splash pad rock area. But this ride, we can't talk about much in terms of riding it. It was closed when we got there. The team member actually told us, what did they say, Nathan? There was a big crash and
I think it was like there was a
Yep.
snap. Yeah, there was a snap and pop sound. And I'm thinking, okay, well, darn, that means you can't ride it.
yeah, so it was not operating, and they were not sure if it was going to be operating the rest of the day at that point. They did have lockers that you could separately purchase if you didn't want all your stuff to get wet, but those were also not operating. They were closed and out of order. So just have a backup plan if you're not wanting to get all your stuff wet, because we did see a lot of people coming off this ride very wet.
That reminded me of like the Aquaman ride from, I think it was Six Flags.
Yeah. But all in all, I mean, it was kind of disappointing that we missed it. This seems like kind of the main attraction of the park. I know they both said that the Cretaceous coaster was their favorite. I was kind of wondering the whole time, like, when we get on Minions, is that going to change their mind? So
That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Because I was excited. I was looking forward to it because there's like that statue somewhere in the middle of the park, like of the Minions, and they're like climbing onto a big white wall or something. I don't know what it was, but
yeah.
I was thinking, oh, so this looks like it's gonna be fun and stuff, exciting, and we ended up not being able to ride it.
Yeah. And then we ended the day at the store, as most people do, and I felt like they had a really good selection.
Oh, they did, yeah.
I will say that we were looking for something particular in the Jurassic World like adventure area, and I kept telling to just wait, that we could probably get it at the end because we didn't want it to get wet while we were walking around. And we did not find it in the main store at the end. So just know, even if you think, oh, that big store is at the end, it may not have everything you're looking for. Something that was kind of interesting to me as well is it had souvenirs and things of lands that were not there, like How to Train Your Dragon and like Kung Fu Panda. Like, it had some stuff that wasn't even in Universal Kids, which was interesting.
And I'm thinking that they're probably going to have lands and attractions for those themes later on, which I do
Maybe.
hope that they actually do that. It would be really cool. Yeah, I'd be excited to meet Poe from Kung Fu Panda.
So that is kind of the walkthrough of the land. Now we're going to get into kind of our thoughts. I think a big thing for me is price. So Universal came out and said, this is driven for kids. It's not meant to be this humongous major theme park. It's meant to be more like a regional theme park. And while I get that, I'm going to go through some prices. So on the website, it says starting at $54.99. Well, I don't see $54.99 anywhere on this pricing calendar up until you get to the end of September. Everything for the summer and leading into like August and on a weekend is upwards of $79.99. So we're talking $80 per person to get into this park. That is a hefty, hefty cost, especially when we're talking about they want us to compare it to other regional parks in the area. So just to kind of throw out some names, there's a Peppa Pig theme park here. That is much smaller, I will say that, but it is $25 per person. The Legoland area is $36 per person. The zoo is $29 per person. So yes, I can understand where they're coming out and saying this is a regional park. It's not meant to be this humongously big park, but the prices are closer to what you pay to go to Disney World and Universal than you go to a regional park. So that is something that's kind of hard to swallow, especially when you're looking at the fact that rides go down. So yes, they have wonderful rides, but rides go down. That's just part of a theme park. So you have to have other things that are going to bring people in to want to pay $80 per person. I mean, a family of four is going to pay $350 to go to Disney. So that's quite a big cost. I also am a little frustrated. I don't like to use that word a whole lot when I'm talking about places I love, but it is meant to be a kids park, and now they're talking about adding in express pass. They're talking about adding in VIP tours, things that are only going to increase the wait time for your average guest. And when you're already paying $80 per person, and then now you have to pay another 100, 200 upwards money per person to go on these express lines, that's a lot. I don't think that this park is big enough to say that a VIP tour is worth it. There's not enough to fill your day as a VIP guest unless they're going to add in special things for VIP guests. But that's my thought on pricing. Nathan, I know we kind of went in and helped pay for your ticket and things like that, but what are you thinking about, as a younger person? What do those costs feel like to you?
It's definitely more to like save upon. Like you're gonna think, okay, if I want to go to this park, I'm gonna have to save this amount of money, and so that way I can still pay for all of like my living expenses and all that. Like I want to be able to have fun, but hey, you gotta have the money for it first.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Especially if you're going to stay in the hotel, apparently.
Yeah, and that was another thing. We have not stayed in the hotel yet. Quite frankly, even as a travel advisor, looking at the costs are not something that feels worth it to us. Just a standard room that has a theme park view is upwards of $450 a night. So to put that into comparison, that is like a moderate hotel at a Disney World location, or sometimes even a premier hotel at Universal Orlando. So that's quite a hefty cost. And really all you're getting for that is an hour of early admission on your park days. And only the SpongeBob Bikini Bottom area and the Minions area is open during that early park admission anyway. So that's quite a bit of money for a standard hotel, in my opinion, when you could go just a little bit up the street to a Hilton and pay less than half. So that's definitely something that is, I think, a little bit of sticker shock. And I think Universal needs to be mindful of the fact that there's a lot to do in Dallas. That's a lot. But all in all, I thought it was a fun time. We've already got plans to go back. We definitely do want to go back. Like I said, we didn't check out the splash pad areas, and we didn't get to do some of the rides just because they were down. But the price is definitely something that when I'm looking at it, it just doesn't quite align to the experience that I had there. Other thing I wanted to talk about was, like I said, I am a little bigger than your average person. But the height requirements on these rides are if you are below 48 inches, a kid cannot ride by themselves. Our daughter is a little taller for her age. She's almost to 48 inches, but a lot of kids are not, especially the age range that this park is geared towards. And you're asking parents pay all this money and potentially not be able to have their kid ride a ride because they can't ride with them. And that's the whole reason that Universal is saying that their price is so much higher, is because of the quality of the rides. People might have to skip some of these rides because they can't fit on them with their children. So I think some stuff was designed really well. I thought the restrooms were really cute. They had like kid-sized potties and adult people. But I do think that there's a little bit of a missed mark in the fact that, yes, this is a kids park, but it's adults that are paying for it and adults that are having to be there, and the adults making the decisions to go there. So, Disney, I try real hard not to compare these two brands, but Disney does a really good job of catering both to the children and to their parents, because as much as they cater towards our daughter and make her feel special and loved, it takes a little bit of the pressure off of me. They cater to both. And I feel like Universal is trying to say this is a kids park, it's geared to kids. And we're sometimes forgetting about the parents that are going to take them to this park. So, like I said, it just opened. It's only been open for a couple weeks now, but I am interested to see what they do moving forward. One last tip I did want to mention was park touring. So I mentioned as we went through the park, we intentionally started in the Trolls area and worked our way clockwise, right, Nathan? Yes.
Yeah, we were clockwise.
We went clockwise because we did know that all the splash pad areas were over on the right side of the park. So Minions and SpongeBob are going to be the wettest part of the park. Trolls, Shrek, besides the one little water splash pad, and the Jurassic areas were fairly dry. And then also they were the parts of the park that didn't have as much air conditioning parts to them. So I definitely would, if you're going to this park, start in Trolls and work your way around. That way you end the day at the air conditioned parts that also have the splash pad areas.
I would say they were the more like dry areas. The Jurassic World did have this like I don't know what they were called, but it was a thing you can press a button and it shoots water at you. So I did like that. Both me and Piper enjoyed standing there to try and cool off from the hot summer air while being at this park.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a really fun time. We enjoyed it. We are wanting to get back and see if there's been any changes since we went. But that's kind of our thoughts. So let us know in the comments or leave us a review. Have you been to this park? Is it something that you're excited to try? Have you been and you're like, never mind, that was not what I thought it was? Or is it something that you are looking forward to maybe waiting and seeing what happens in the future before you go? We always want to know what other people are experiencing. Sometimes our experiences don't align with everybody else's, so we like to kind of hear what your experiences are. But for that, I'm Kirsten.
Nathan.
And I'm Chad.
And this has been Ports and Palaces Podcast. Make sure to follow, leave us a review, share with friends with like-minded thoughts, and we'll see you next time.
This podcast is sponsored by Ports and Palaces Vacations. Whether you are wanting to check out a new port along a cruise line or see the palaces of Disney and Universal, our travel advisors make your dream trip a reality. Your next trip is just a click away.